The State Department audit dropping smack dab in the heat of the presidential race. The Inspector General's report cites long-standing systemic weaknesses related to communications. It says those problems started before Hillary Clinton's appointment as Secretary of State. However, it singles out her failures as more serious. The review comes after revelations that Clinton exclusively used a private email account and server while in office. She sent more than 1,000 emails later determined classified, some of them top secret. Fox senior judicial analyst Judge Andrew Napolitano on why this is a big deal.
It disputes the heart of Mrs. Clinton's defense. The heart of her defense was that she complied with all State Department regulations and that what the FBI has been doing is just a security review. We now know from Director Comey's own words the FBI doesn't do security reviews. We now know that this was the security review. The security review is a review of how the State Department keeps safe the secrets entrusted to it. And Mrs. Clinton flunked that review.
The judge also goes on to say Clinton, quote, knowingly and willfully violated her own State Department requirements on record keeping. So I come to you first, Gary, on this because of your history with her. Who is she surrounding herself with likely today? And I mean, are these people sycophants? Are they telling her that this doesn't matter? And so what do you think the messaging is like behind the scenes?
Well, they know that it matters. And I think what they're trying to tell her is we always get through these things. We always find a way to get around them. We always find a way to... anyone who has spent time with the Clintons know that there is a culture of we are smarter, we are more sophisticated, and we will find ways to get around. And so I don't think there's panic. I think there is... the methodology will be, what do we do next? We're going to win here. And maybe they won't win, but that's going to be the mindset of how they will think about this right now.
Is this a divot?
I mean, when you say that, I hear she's slithering out of it, like she's trying at any time. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an attorney general. I don't know anything like this. How do you choose not to cooperate? I don't understand. If I'm under investigation for something, I can just opt out, and not just her, but Huma Abedin, because maybe there's some legalities about her being Secretary of State. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Henchwoman Huma's emails should be public record along with Hillary Clinton's, and I don't understand why there's still this triple standard for them.
Kirsten, I heard you say in the green room whether or not you think this matters all that much. In the big picture of Hillary Clinton running for president, your thoughts?
Well, I think it doesn't matter among people who are Democratic voters who, certainly we saw among Democratic primary voters, it was a total non-issue. And so that is sort of baked into the cake for a lot of Democratic voters. Now, it could make a difference with independent voters or people, you know, who are sort of on the fence. But, you know, this is probably the most indicting thing that we've seen. You know, this is an independent review. This isn't a partisan attack, and showing that they, unlike previous secretaries of state, she did not participate. And so you had John Kerry participating, Madeleine Albright participating, you know, and for some reason Hillary Clinton doesn't think she has to participate. That's pretty damning.
So let's talk about Donald Trump's ability to seize on this controversy, because we know the nickname he has come up with Hillary Clinton, and that is Crooked Hillary. But to Kirsten's point, it just doesn't seem, Gary, that it's reaching beyond those who have already decided to support her. They have unwavering support. Like, this isn't going to further dent their support for her.
Well, look, I should tell you that I'm not going to give my own personal political opinion, but I do think that Donald Trump will win this election. And he will win this election because of the math. Jeffrey Gundlach, Sandra, I know you know who he is, a great investor, who looks at things just from a numbers standpoint. Events like the email scandal and the way Donald Trump will attack anything like this will get those independent voters. All you have to do is spend time outside of the running around the country, as I do. And when you talk to people and the frustration they have with government in general, this is the type of thing that makes them think, why do we want to go back to what we've already seen? Why do we want to have a candidate who's already been part of the establishment? So this all just plays right into Donald Trump.
This fuels that outsider hunger, that thirst for that. Kirsten, I want to come back to you because a couple things are making news right now. So both political parties are responding in their chairs. The DNC has a list of people now that are supporting, you know, Hillary Clinton and all of this, and the pushback is actually even coming somewhat from the State Department that now is saying, well, you know, again, just to reiterate, there were predecessors to Hillary Clinton that had this go on and so forth, but they still single her out as being more serious at this point. And then you've got the RNCs. The Inspector General's findings are just the latest chapter in the long saga of Clinton's bad judgment that broke federal rules and endangered our national security. It goes on to say this detailed inquiry by the Obama appointee makes clear Hillary Clinton has not been telling the truth since day one, and her aides' refusal to cooperate with this probe only underscores that fact. So it's taking on new life minute by minute.
Yeah, well, look, I think...
Does she have to respond to this?
First of all, she didn't... She should respond to it. I don't know if she will, or she'll respond probably with some sort of, I've already addressed this. I already said I probably shouldn't have done it, and, you know, let's all move on. I'm sure that's going to be her approach to it. You know, but I think that in the, you know, it's just not true that other people didn't have their own servers.
That's the big difference.
So
here.
it's
they
not
had email. They had private email.
The fact that
but the server
keep
is the
saying
difference.
that it's just not a true statement. So I think, yeah, so they're going to focus on what they can, which is other people had their own emails, but that's not really the problem. The problem was the server. And the problem was that, you know, in the beginning, the story has just changed. So I think in the beginning, she actually was okay. People kind of said, okay, she made a mistake, until it became clear that what she's saying wasn't true.
So the interviews and the findings of this report, to your point, are based on interviews with current Secretary of State John Kerry, his predecessors, Madeleine Albright, Colin Powell, and Condoleezza Rice. But Kirsten hit the key point here, and Megan, get you in on this as well. They didn't have private email servers in their home.
Well, you know, when I think about this politically and broadly about what's going on, she's having a really hard time coalescing support from Bernie Sanders supporters. She's having a hard time getting Democrats to come on board. More than anything, Bernie Sanders supporters feel that she is corrupt and she's stealing this election. This narrative that she thinks she's above the law, she should have her own private email server, she's traded national secrets in whatever capacity illegally, or whatever she did that was illegal, and showing classified information on her private server. This just plays into the narrative that she's corrupt, crooked Hillary, that she'll do anything. It's this Clintonian attitude that we're above the law, I can do anything I want, and I think, quite frankly, many people in America, especially millennials, just aren't going to buy it this time.
I want to get this in. So the Romanian hacker, Marcel Laser, known as Guccifer, has pleaded guilty just this morning in federal court to 2 counts of computer hacking charges tied to his illegal intrusion into systems belonging to former U.S. government officials. On the list, of course, is Hillary Clinton. We know from an interview that he did with our own Catherine Herridge that he claimed that he was able to access a private email server belonging to Clinton quite easily. So this plays a part of the story now, too. I mean, all of this in one day.
Well, I was just thinking about Senator Sanders making the decision not to bring up those silly emails or whatever it was.
Biggest mistake of his campaign.
No.
Biggest mistake of his campaign. I'm sorry, saying
yes, biggest mistake of his campaign, but if you're in the Trump strategy room right now, you think it's great, because the general population has not heard a lot about this, because Sanders did not want to make it an issue. If you're sitting there in the Trump strategy room right now, this is the greatest thing, because this is going to be something that you're going to press every single day.
If I were Trump right now, I would get an ad out today.
I'm getting message that's something that I had wanted to show you, because I don't know if you guys remember the last time that President Obama really talked about this in detail was with our own Chris Wallace on Fox News Sunday just a few weeks ago. And remember, previous to that on 60 Minutes, he really came out full-throatedly and defended Hillary Clinton. Oh, she won't have anything to worry about. He seemed to be a bit more cagey when he answered Chris Wallace's question about the email server scandal then. Watch, and then we'll talk about it.
I've got to be careful because, as you know, there have been investigations, there are hearings, Congress is looking at this, and I haven't been sorting through each and every aspect of this. Here's what I know. Hillary Clinton was an outstanding Secretary of State. She would never intentionally put America in any kind of jeopardy.
You've got to be careful about this, Kirsten. Why?
Yeah, well, because of they probably don't know what's coming down the pike, something like this IG report. But the intentional thing is, you know,
that was the key word, wasn't it?
Interesting, because it's
that
not.
Was the key word.
It's not just. It may be true that she didn't intentionally do it, but she may have negligently done it, right? I mean, which in some ways is worse, because
that intimates she doesn't know how to do her job.
So it's so both scenarios are bad, right? Either she, you know, intentionally did it, just said screw it, I don't care, I'm just going to put our security at risk, or she didn't stop long enough to think about how this might be a problem.
I want to challenge you on something, though, because you come from the Wall Street world. You are Mr. Wall Street.
We're only 10 minutes
of Wall Street
10 minutes into the show. I come from that world.
But a lot of Hillary Clinton's support and funding comes from Wall Street.
Correct.
And when I sit down with these major Wall Street bigwigs and these major investors, many of them support Hillary Clinton unwavering support for Hillary Clinton, and I challenge them. How do you answer to this controversy? How do you answer to what could be
Well, they don't answer. Let me tell you how it really works, okay? You want to know how it really works?
Please.
Some of these people that are donating to the campaign. In 2007, when I was at Neuberger Berman, which was at the time owned by Lehman Brothers, after the acquisition in 2003, my phone rang one day in 2007, and the number 2 at Lehman Brothers called me. Very rarely calls me. Picked up. I said, "What can I do for you?" He said, "We're going to have a dinner tonight over at the Russian Tea Room for Hillary Clinton. I need you to be there, and I need you to write a check." Okay? That's how it really works, okay? Many of these people on Wall Street that are donating to the campaign aren't donating because they believe in it or they want to believe in it. It is part of what the business is. These firms have for years supported candidates, and if you are a senior executive at the firm, you're not going to be terminated if you don't make a contribution, but you're certainly going to think twice about saying no.
All right, so you see me looking down, and I don't mean to be rude. This is just breaking now. Oh, no, I know. I do covering breaking news. Sandra says she's used to it. All right, so Chairman of the House Oversight Committee, Jason Chaffetz, who's been in your lucky seat a couple of times, is now issued a statement on all of this. Longstanding weaknesses with the preservation of federal email records clearly exist within the Office of the Secretary of State. Over time, those weaknesses may have been exploited by department officials for self-serving purposes. And it goes on to just talk about the State Department should immediately undertake the Inspector General's recommendations to ensure both proper compliance with Federal Records Act and adoption of a far more robust cybersecurity protocol. The part about Hillary Clinton we want to know from him as the oversight chairman, we'll be able to get. He's going to join us live in just a few minutes, and we're going to ask Representative Chaffetz all about this and how this is playing out right now inside the Beltway on Capitol Hill. Kirsten, you said something very critical. And you and I have talked about this issue with the email server so many times, but I hear a difference in your tone today. It isn't that this may damage her in the short term politically. It's what it overall means about what we're looking at in terms of this former Secretary of State.
Yeah, but how is that different than what do you think is different in my tone? I mean, I do think it's different if you have an independent review, you know, coming out and saying, you know,
and this isn't partisan.
And this is the Obama administration after all. I mean, it's not, this isn't some sort of partisan witch hunt. It's not a congressional hearing. And so I think that, you know, and I think it's pretty damning that they didn't cooperate. I mean, that just jumps out at you.
And by the way, when you say they didn't cooperate, of course, we know that Cheryl Mills, Jake Sullivan, and Huma Abedin are among those who did not cooperate in this investigation.
Yeah. Right, yeah. And I mean, why? I mean, why would they not cooperate, especially if there's nothing to hide? I don't, then you should be, you know, I mean, I just think it's your duty, frankly. It's your duty to cooperate with this investigation and help get all the facts out there.
And thank you for that, because you asked me how the tone had changed.
Yeah.
And I specifically had spoken about the FBI when Huma Abedin had talked. But now you're saying no. You know, this is two now. This is an independent review, and we still don't know what the FBI has. I mean, at least now we know a little bit about what state has.
Yeah.
Are you concerned for this candidate?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think the email issue has been it's an issue for her. There's no question. But I also think having the IG report saying also that you failed to preserve the records the way that you're supposed to preserve them. I mean, these are pretty problematic things. This is not something that I mean, it's something you should take very seriously. You know, having worked in the government, having access to classified information, it's something that you are trained to handle very carefully.
Watching the president kind of couch his terms in terms of we have to be careful moving forward makes me wonder what the White House knows ahead of all of this.